That question was posed on the Reddit Amateur Radio Forum recently. What's an acceptable SWR in the HF bands? And the answers show that SWRDS, standing wave ratio derangement syndrome, is still epidemic. Guys immediately jumped in and said, never more than 2 to 1. Well, I can see why they'd say that, because a modern transceiver may start to power down at that level. But many modern transceivers have this thing called an antenna tuner built in. So a 2 to 1 SWR is no problem. Now, others said 1.5 to 1 should never be above 1.5 to 1. I thought, wow, even lower. One guy said, my Yaesu instruction manual says should never be over 1.5 to 1. Asking what's an acceptable SWR for HF is like asking how much food should a human eat? An adult male who's 6'4" needs more food than a baby. So there's no single answer to that question, and it's the same for SWR in the HF bands. Now, we can easily demonstrate all this using this handy online coax cable calculator. Let's start with RG213, a common coax used by hams, 100 feet and the 80-meter band. And let's give it an SWR of 5 to 1. Pretty high SWR, right? And 100 watts in. Now let's see exactly how much we lose on the 80-meter band with an SWR of 5 to 1, because that's what this is all about. SWR does cause additional loss in coax cable, but the question is, how much loss does it cause? There's match loss, and there's then the additional loss caused by SWR. All right, calculate. All right, so the match loss is just over 0.3 dB. The SWR causes an additional loss of 1/2 of a dB. Total loss, 0.8 dB, less than 1 dB. 5 to 1 SWR, 100 feet of coax cable. Now, an S unit is 6 dB. So this is about 1/6 of an S unit. So the amount of loss created by a 5 to 1 SWR in this situation is negligible. Doesn't matter. All right, now let's increase the SWR. Let's go up to 10 to 1. But surely that would be catastrophic, right? Well, let's see. Let's calculate that. All right, now the total loss is 1.5 dB. Still just a fraction of an S unit. So can you operate with a 10 to 1 SWR on the 80-meter band? Would that be acceptable? Absolutely. All right, now let's go up to the other end of the HF band. 10 meters, 28 megahertz. Let's start with the same 5 to 1 SWR and see how much loss we have with this. Calculate. So we have a total loss of about 2 dB. 1/3 of an S unit. Is that acceptable? Is a 5 to 1 SWR acceptable on 10 meters? I would say so. 1/3 of an S unit is not going to make any difference at all. All right, let's go crazy now and increase this to 10 to 1. 10 to 1 SWR on 10 meters. Let's see if that's catastrophic. You're going to have more loss, certainly. Yeah. So now you have 3.5 dB. Still less than 1 S unit loss. 10 meters. 10 to 1 SWR. Now, you are losing about half your power And look, I admit that's going to mess with your mind. But in reality, it doesn't make any difference. Well, your transceiver can't handle SWR levels that high. Yeah, well, of course it can't. That's why we have antenna tuners. Now, a lot of built-in tuners can only handle an SWR of up to about 4:1. You can get an inexpensive automatic antenna tuner like this one, which works well for less than $100. An acceptable level of SWR on any frequency depends on the frequency, the type of transmission line, and how long it is. There's no single answer. If you use balance line like ladder line, SWR doesn't matter at all because the line loss is so low. It's only really an issue with coax cable. And don't believe the myth that SWR makes coax radiate. Coax is shielded. The shield keeps RF in the cable. Shielded cable will not radiate unless you got common mode current, and that's easy to fix with a coax RF choke. It stops current from flowing down the outside of the shield. Yeah, because of skin effect, separate RF current can flow on the inside and the outside of the coax shield. With an understanding of how coax cable works and what SWR really does, you won't have SWR derangement syndrome. It's a miracle. You're cured. Well, consider subscribing to this channel in 73.